friends, so today, after learning about James Rizzi, the artist, we are going to make a James Rizzi inspired cityscape. So to begin, you're going to start out with just a white paper and you're going to write your name and class code on the back. Then once you flip it over, we are going to start adding our buildings. So notice my paper is horizontal, which means left to right. It is not vertical, up and down, horizontal, left to right. You're going to do this next step in pencil and then go over it with Sharpie and erase all your pencil lines. I'm gonna go in with just Sharpie so that you can see it really, really well on the video. So I have my Sharpie and a ruler and my paper, and I am going to start adding in horizontal and vertical lines. So to start, I'm just gonna throw horizontal line down. Now I gave you a handout and it has this on it as well as some faces on the back, which we'll add later. I do not want yours to look exactly like this, and I do not want yours to look exactly like mine. I want you to be creative and kind of add in whatever shaped buildings you want and whatever faces you want. So there's my first building. Now they do not have to be perfect rectangles, but I do want some to overlap, which means one in front of the other. So I can go over here and add a line to put this building kind of behind the first building. Okay, so I have filled up my background with a bunch of buildings. I have about 9 buildings here. I would like to see you get at least 7 buildings on your background, and mine are different shapes and sizes and heights. Our next step is to go in and add some fun James Rizzi faces. So your handout has all these examples on the back. You of course do not have to use these faces, but we do want these big, bold, silly faces or faces in this style. Okay, so I don't want to see just like a dot dot smile. I want lots of detail on all of the buildings, and we have to add some windows or special designs. So I'm going to start with this building right here. And again, you're doing this in pencil first, and then we'll go over it in Sharpie. So I have added one face from this sheet. Again, doesn't have to be exactly the same. You can even mix and match. Now I'm going to add in some fun details. So I might put a heart on this building. I'll add some windows over here. And for this part, you don't really need to use a ruler because these lines are so small. It is completely okay if the lines are not exactly straight. So there's one of my buildings all finished with lots and lots of details. I'm gonna go in and add details to the rest of my buildings now. Alright, so I have added all my faces and all the details that I want on my little cityscape. So at this point, you should have it all done in pencil. You may go over it with Sharpie and then make sure you erase all of your pencil lines on the whole paper. Then we're going to get out some crayons, and we are going to use our crayons to fill in all of the details. So we do not want to cover our whole building. If we color our whole building, then we don't get to use the super cool trick. So you're just going to color in the details. Like if you want, say I want this building's eyes to be blue, I'll color just that in blue, and I'll color in the hearts and the windows. Okay, but do not color in your entire building. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm talking about. We wanna make sure we fill in all of the details really, really well because we will be using water and we need the wax of our crayons to be able to push away the water. So I finished coloring up in crayon. As you can see, I only filled in the details. I did not fill in my buildings. I do not want to see your buildings all filled in. Your next step is how we're going to add color to the rest of it. So to all of our buildings and the background, we're going to use markers, but we're not just going to color it in like we normally would. We're going to use our markers kind of like watercolor. So what you are going to do is you are going to take one of your markers and you are going to outline an entire building, and you want this outline to be thick. So there's me outlining one side of this building with a really thick line. I don't want to see a line like that. It should be a thick line all the way around the building. So there's one building outlined. And I'm going to do this for all of my buildings, but I'm going to make them different colors. Okay, so now I have all of my buildings outlined with a very thick marker line. So my marker was turned on the side, I could get these thick lines all the way around. Now we're gonna add some color to our background, but we're gonna do it a whole bunch of different colors. So I'm gonna use the same markers I used before, and I'm going to make a dotted swirly line through the sky. So I'm gonna start with my blue. Again, my marker is kind of on its side, and I'm gonna make short little lines going all the way across. And then I'm gonna switch to a different color and make another short dotted line or dashed line right next to it. And I'm gonna keep switching my colors until I fill my entire sky. Now look, I am doing these, they're kind of close together. They're very thick. I am definitely not doing just a straight line or just one solid wavy line. I want it to be dashed to give the sky some texture. Okay, so I filled in my full background. I didn't have enough colors to use a different color for every single row, so some of them repeated, like there's several reds here and several of the same purples and yellows, but everything is filled in. Now you are going to get a cup of water, a paintbrush, and a messy mat. I don't have one, but you need to have one because anytime we are painting, we need a messy mat. And you're going to take just a wet paintbrush in clean water, and you are going to add water to the edges of your building and kind of swirl it around. And this will turn our marker into almost like watercolor. So there's my first one done. I could go straight over my crayon because I know that I pressed really, really good. And I'm just rinsing out my brush so that I don't get blue in my next building. I'm just gonna go to my next building and start the process over. Now when I'm doing this, I'm being careful not to touch that background that I just colored because those colors will mix right into the colors of our buildings if we're not super careful around the edges. So there is all of my buildings watercolored. Now it's time for me to do the background. So I'm going to turn my paper around That way I have better access without touching any of the stuff that's still kind of wet right here. So to do the background, I'm going to do the same thing. I am just going to paint exactly where the color is, and then if I switch colors, I need to wash my brush so they don't mix. So I'm going to start down here. Again, I'm being super careful around my buildings. So that was red, so I can paint my other reds while my paintbrush is still wet. I'm going to switch, I can do my orange. And these will start to blend together just like watercolors do. The reason I'm going one color at a time is because we have so many colors up here, and we know that complementary colors like red and green, or purple and yellow, or blue and orange, when they blend, they make brown, and we do not want a brown sky. So I'm being careful to just get one color at a time, and I can let those seep into each other, but I don't want my colors to go all the way across my page, and I definitely don't want to blend out the whole sky together. Okay, so there we have it, our James Rizzi inspired cityscapes. We have a bunch of really silly faces on very cool buildings with lots and lots of designs and windows. And we use this very cool watercolor technique, and then we added some beautiful texture swirls to the sky. Once you are finished with this, you're going to take this on your messy mat to the drying rack to tone it in.